Top 20 Funniest Movies of All Time. Everyone loves a good old belly tickle, right? What better way to get wind down after a long day in the office than watching a hilariously funny movie? So, we thought we'd compile a list of some of the funniest movies of all time for your convenience. Pick one from the list, sit back, relax, and have a giggle. The list of movies and figures mentioned below have been compiled from various sources around the web, such as Ranker, Rolling Stone, and Best Life Online. These are the 20 funniest movies of all time. American Pie. This 1999 classic provides a ton of laughs. If you went to high school, which is almost guaranteed, then you'll certainly be able to relate to some of the shenanigans in this film. The film was written by Adam Hers, directed by Paul and Chris Weitz, and was a massive box office success. The film centers around five best friends who make a pact to lose their virginity before they graduate high school. It's absolutely hilarious and well worth a watch. Happy Gilmore. Released in 1996, Happy Gilmore is about an unsuccessful ice hockey player who discovers his talents lie in the golfing world. The film was directed by Dennis Dugan and produced by Robert Simons and stars Adam Sandler as the lead as Happy Gilmore. It was a major success in the box office, earning $41.2 million. It also won an MTV Movie Award for Best Fight. Superbad. American teen comedy, Superbad, was directed by Greg Mottola and stars Jonah Hill and Michael Cera. The film was actually co-written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, so it's no surprise that it's made it into our top 20 funniest movies of all time. Elf. Next up, we have one of our favorite films, Elf. Released in 2003, the film follows the journey of a larger-than-life, slightly awkward, but caring elf who's on a quest to get reunited with his biological father. He stumbles a little along the way, but eventually, he makes progress and succeeds. It stars Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, Ed Asner, and Zooey Deschanel. It's a must-watch. Shaun of the Dead. If you like a bit of zombie gore and don't mind the off bit of blood, then Shaun of the Dead could be the movie for you. Released in 2004, the comedy horror movie follows Shaun, Simon Pegg, and Ed Nick Best as they race around London fighting off a zombie apocalypse. The film was both a critical and commercial success and was nominated for a BAFTA. There's Something About Mary. In fifth place, we have There's Something About Mary. Starring Cameron Diaz, Matt Dillon, and Ben Stiller, this 1998 rom-com is well worth a watch. It follows Ted Ben Stiller as he tries to track down his high school prom date to reignite a flame once lost. The movie. He was placed 27th in the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Laughs, America's Funniest Movies, which is a list of the 100 funniest movies of the 20th century. The Big Lebowski. Released in 1998, The Big Lebowski is a stoner comedy film about an unemployed Los Angeles slacker. In a case of mistaken identity, Jeffrey, the dude, is mistaken for another guy called Jeffrey, who turns out to be a millionaire. The millionaire's wife gets kidnapped and Jerry, the dude, is sent to rescue her. But, as you can suspect, things don't go according to plan. The film was written, produced, and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. Office Space. Written and directed by Mike Judge and released in 1999, Office Space is about a handful of individuals that are fed up with their jobs in a typical 1990s software company. The film stars a number of great actors, including Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, Gary Cole, and Ajay Naidu. It didn't score too well at the box office, however, don't let that put you off watching it, as it still provides a good laugh. Borat. Sacha Baron Cohen plays Borat in this 2006 comedic mockumentary. If you're after a couple of hours of absolute cringe-worthy laughter, then this is 100% the film for you. The film follows Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, who's a fictitious Kazakh journalist, who is traveling through the United States documenting real-life situations with normal American people. Words don't do it justice, this is an absolute must-watch. This is Spinal Tap. This 1984 mockumentary is about a fictional British heavy metal band called Spinal Tap. The premise was to follow the band on their American tour and document the whole process. The band were meant to portray the rock and roll lifestyle that's always been associated with rock bands. However, they almost did this a little too well, as a lot of real rock bands actually felt it really hit home for them. Initially, the film received mostly positive reviews, but it wasn't until 2002, when it was released on VHS, that it really gained a large cult following. It was directed and co-written by Rob Reiner. Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is a 1994 American comedy classic. If you ask anyone to name some funny films, this one usually comes up. The story follows two friends, Lloyd Christmas, Jim Carrey, and Harry Dunn, Jeff Daniels, as they embark on a cross-country trip to return a briefcase stacked with cash. What they didn't know, or failed to realize, was the briefcase was actually left there on purpose to pay a ransom. It did super well upon release, grossing over $247 million and helped cement Carrey's and Daniels' careers. Young Frankenstein. The eighth funniest movie of all time is Young Frankenstein. It's a classic horror film parody that follows Dr. Frederick Frankenstein as he decides to carry on his grandfather's experiments in his Transylvanian estate. He succeeds with his experiments and creates a monster. However, this causes him and his servants a whole world of problems, so things quickly turn ugly. Young Frankenstein was released in 1974 and directed by Mel Brooks. The Hangover. Next up, we have this hilarious American comedy, The Hangover. Out of all the films on the list, I'm pretty sure this is the one that most people will have seen or recognize. Directed by Todd Phillips and released in 2009, The Hangover follows four friends that travel to LA to celebrate one of their upcoming marriages. Things end up getting pretty wild, and when they wake up the morning after the bachelor party, they can't quite piece everything together and soon realize they might have gone a bit overboard. It's an absolute must-watch. Groundhog Day. In sixth place is Groundhog Day. I think many people go through this at some point in their lives, which is why this film is so relatable and funny. Bill Murray plays Phil Connors, a TV weatherman that's been set an assignment to report on the annual Groundhog Day. However, unfortunately for Phil, he gets trapped in some weird time loop, reliving the same day, over and over again. The film was released in 1993 and did reasonably well, later receiving critical acclaim. Kadashack. Kicking off our top 5 is this American sports comedy released in 1980. Kadashack was directed by Brian Doyle Murray and written by Murray, Harold Ramis and Douglas Kenney. The film follows a young caddy, who's a little down on his luck, as he takes a caddy position at an upmarket country club to save up for college. Well worth a watch and lots of laughs to be had. Blazing Saddles. Released in 1974, Blazing Saddles is a Western comedy film that was later nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It's about a small frontier town called Rock Ridge that gets its first ever black sheriff. The locals don't particularly warm to him, but when they realize he's the only line of defense, along with his drunken sidekick, against a band of thugs that's on their way to destroy the town, they quickly change their minds and stand behind him. Definitely a funny classic worth watching. Anchorman. The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Just hilarious, not much more to say. If you're a fan of Will Ferrell, then this one's a must-watch for you if you haven't already seen it. In a nutshell, the film is set in the 1970s and depicts Ron Burgundy's Will Ferrell struggles with his new female equivalent. Just watch it if you haven't already and you'll be rolling around with laughter. Airplane. Airplane is a spoof comedy that pretty much makes a mockery out of all the 70s disaster movies. When passengers and crew members get food poisoning on a jet, the alcoholic pilot is forced to take control but has his own battles fighting with his ex-girlfriend. WH0 just so happens to be a stewardess on the plane. They both have to work together to bring the plane down to safety, which makes for a good laugh. The film was a really good financial success, grossing over $83 million in North America upon release. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. First place on our list of the funniest movies of all time goes to the legendary Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's a 1975 British comedy film set in 963 AD. It follows King Arthur as he travels around the country acquiring men to join his Knights of the Round Table. After securing his knights, they set off on an adventure to find the Holy Grail and along the way encounter many hilarious obstacles. The film did super well, which could be down to the fact it was written by some of the best comedians in the business: Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones and Michael Palin. In 1975, the film grossed more in the US than any other British film, and in the UK, Total Film magazine ranked it as the 5th greatest movie of all time. Thank you for watching.